right. I think we're live now, so just getting going here, guys. Hopefully you can hear me okay. It looks like mic's working. Looks like video's working. Hopefully it's not choppy or anything like that. I hope we're going well. Hang on, what I just get I just got a notification that something's live on my channel. I already knew that. So, all right, while we're waiting for people to join, I see a couple people in here already. Let me go ahead and get the normal disclaimers out of the way. This is a weekly live broadcast. Sometimes I can't make it because, things get in the way. I have a full-time job, have family, sometimes life happens and I can't make it. But generally speaking, Thursday, 7 o'clock Central, this is where we're at live. And I don't have a topic planned out. This is just to respond to you guys in the chat, as the live chat as it's going on. So if you're watching this after this has gone live and it's no longer live at that point, and you leave a comment, I probably won't get to it. Here recently, I haven't been very good about responding to comments. I'm really working on trying to get better at that. But right now, I've just got too many things going on, and I just haven't had a chance to get in and respond to comments. So, sorry, I got distracted. Okay, so the only things I'm going to say is this is an Ask Me Anything session. Anything you want to talk about, leave a comment. The only things I say is keep it family friendly, be polite. You can disagree with somebody if you want to. That's fine, but there's no reason to call them names. Don't start cussing. None of those kinds of things. We'll kick you out of here if we have to. So let's get into it. My Backyard Shenanigans says, I've waited all day for this. Well, thank you. I appreciate you joining the live broadcast and anticipating it, I guess. Katrina says, hey, from Gilroy, California. Good evening to you. Katrina says, we have illegal fireworks pretty much year-round here, but it gets especially bad the weeks before and after the 4th of July. The bunnies jump every time. Any tips? I don't know if there's really much you can do. My rabbits don't seem to mind the fireworks going off. I don't know. You might try covering their cages, keeping it dark, during that time. The only problem with that is going to be there's no airflow, of course, if you cover it too tightly. But, if you can put something down to where it's dark and, feels like a cave in there, they may feel a little bit more secure. That might help. But I don't know. I mean, that's the only thing I can tell you to do. My dog does freak out about the 4th of July, the fireworks. But, the rabbits, I don't know what else I can tell you to do on those, unfortunately. My backyard says my Backyard Shenanigans, that's the name of the user, says, hey, all from Kent Bridge, Ontario, Canada. Good to see you. Thanks again for joining. I appreciate it. Good to see you, Marie. Gingerbeard says, good evening, Chris. Hope all is well. When do you like to rebreed does after having a litter? Is around 4 weeks good? You can do that really as early as you want to. Some people do it as early as 2 weeks after the litter is born, assuming they're going to have, another litter right at 6 weeks old when it's time to wean the other litter. I think that's a little too intense. 4 weeks, I think, is a good time frame, because then at that point, you should be, if you're weaning the rabbits at 6 weeks old, then you've got about 2 weeks before you're going to have another litter. And I think that doe needs a break in between. I like to personally do 4 to 6 weeks, somewhere right around in there. It's up to you, however you want to do it. I don't know that I would go as intense as 2 weeks after she's had her litter. I think, again, that's a little too intense, but you can do that however you want to do that. 4 weeks is a fine schedule. Hello to you, Val. Good to see you. Cruel Intention says, love the stream. Keep it up. God bless my friend. Thank you very much, Cruel Intentions. I appreciate that. Totally Gomer says, hey, Chris, hope all is well. You mentioned a while back about a turkey hunt video. What is the status of that? Oh, no, I'm sorry to tell you. Well, first of all, turkey hunting wasn't successful for me this year. I made a big mistake. I'm not, we don't have a huge population of turkey around here. So, I'm fairly new to turkey hunting. We've been doing it. I guess we've been doing it about 6 years, my cousin and I. I got a turkey the first year I hunted. And then it was almost 3 years later before he got a turkey, which was about 3 years ago. So the turkey population's starting to increase. Last year, we didn't even hear a turkey, not once the whole time we were out. This year, we did hear a turkey. We called one in. He was coming in. It was my turn to take the shot. I had the 3D camera, or the 360 camera going for you guys. I took a shot at that thing, and I made a big mistake. I didn't. He was way too far away for me to shoot at with a shotgun. I just misjudged the distance, forgot I was shooting with a shotgun, not a rifle. And he flew off. We never saw him again. So I got all that on video, planned on posting it for you guys. But turkey season wasn't over, so I was waiting until the end of turkey season. We did hear a couple more gobblers the next weekend we went out, and we chased them around for a little while, and they eventually went off into the neighbor's property, and we couldn't follow anymore, and we lost them. So we didn't get another chance to shoot at another turkey. And I was in the process of editing video and doing some things, and I ended up accidentally, inadvertently deleting those videos. So I didn't get them put together and get them posted for you guys. I'm sorry about that. It was, wasn't anything exciting because, like I said, I didn't get a turkey, but you did get to go through the woods with me a little bit. You got to see me miss a turkey. You would have gotten to see me miss a turkey. Terrible rookie mistake. Contemplated not posting it, and I finally decided, you know what? Who cares? Everybody makes mistakes. I'll post it. I'll show everybody the mistakes I made because I'm usually not afraid to share mistakes. I don't care. But again, I made a mistake and deleted it. So 2 mistakes in one, and I didn't mean to. I was trying to delete another file, and I knew better. As soon as I hit the delete key, I was like, I should wait. What I was doing was I was moving some files from one folder to another, and while they were moving, I highlighted a couple of more videos that I didn't, that had already been edited, already been uploaded, all that. Those video clips I didn't need anymore, and I hit Shift Delete, permanently delete those. And I thought, I shouldn't do that because while it's in the process of moving files, sometimes it's not selecting the files you think it's selecting, but it was too late. I'd already hit delete, and sure enough, when everything refreshed, those videos were gone permanently. So I'm sorry about that. Couldn't get it going for you. But anyway, hello to you, Cruel Intentions. Says hello from Tennessee. Val says, wow, you're at 72,000 subs now. Last time I was on your live stream was when you had 50,000. Even remember when you had 6,000 subs. Well, thanks for hanging out with me for so long. I appreciate that. I remember all those milestones too. Yeah, 72,000 subscribers. So pretty happy, pretty blessed to be at 72,000. And of course, I don't get anywhere near those many video views, but that's okay. I'm not complaining about that at all. Excuse me. All right, Keisha says, hey, from Cayman Islands. That's a place I'd like to visit someday. Says, hope you and your wife are well. Do you ever do cooking videos with rabbits? Yeah, I have done cooking videos. We are doing well, first of all. Thank you very much. I am jealous that you're in the Cayman Islands. I'd like to visit there someday. But yeah, I have done some cooking videos before. It's been a little while since I've done a video on cooking, but I have several of them that I've done on cooking rabbits, cooking quail. I think I even did one on cooking a chicken that I raised. So anyway, I'll try to do what I can to get another cooking video out sometime soon. Katrina says the quail and the chicken don't seem to react to the fireworks. Yeah, I've noticed that too. My quail don't seem to react to them at all. They're not real jumpy when it comes to noise or anything like that. If something comes up to the cage, they can get a little bit jumpy, but noise is going on and all. It doesn't seem to bother them a bit. All right. Hello to you, David. Oh, let me grab a drink there real quick. Oh, I'm sorry. I got distracted by things on my desk. I'm like, what is that? What do I have on here? It's such a mess right now. I need to clean up. I got boxes and junk everywhere I need to get cleaned up, but I'll do that later. Oh, and one other thing I'll tell you guys, you may be able to hear noises off to the side. I don't know how sensitive this microphone is at picking that up, but the eggs in the incubator just started hatching just a couple hours ago. So I got baby quail hatching right now. All right, Jamie says, hey, Chris, Todd here from the Dixie Delight Farm and Homestead, Harmony, North Carolina. Nest Fox going in Friday for my Silver Fox doe. My first time having kits. Any pointers? Well, good luck with it. As far as pointers go, there really isn't much you need to do. What I would say is, get in there and check on them as soon as you can after she's had them. Make sure none of them died. If they did, go ahead and remove those from the litter box so the rest of them aren't. Watch her closely. When she starts pulling fur, watch her real closely. You want to make sure she has her babies in the nest box. Now, you're in, what'd you say, North Carolina. It's probably pretty warm there right now, so it may not be as big of an issue. But still, she has them on the cage floor. Pick them up, put them in the nest box. She should do the rest. There shouldn't be anything else you have to do, but don't worry about getting in there and checking on them. As soon as you're sure she's done, she's had her babies, the next morning or whatever is fine. You don't have to do it right away, but just get in there and check, make sure everybody's doing okay, that you didn't lose any of them. You want to get them out of there if you did. That's really about it. I don't know that there's anything else that you should need to do. All right, Marie says, just got 24 chickens butchered today. It was hot 92, but it was done. But it is done. 25 more to go in 4 weeks. Yeah, I think it's one of those things they say, women kind of forget about the pain of childbirth. That's why that will have another baby at some point. I think it's the same thing with butchering chickens. You kind of forget until you do it just how much work it is, and how, especially 92 degrees out. So you kind of forget about that by the time until it comes time to do it again. And you realize, oh, this was a lot more work than I thought it was. But good job on getting 24 of them butchered in one day. That's a lot to do in one day. I don't know if you have an automatic plucker or not. We don't. We just do it by hand. I can't quite justify the cost of one, but yeah, that's a lot of work either way. So good job. All right. Hey, Marshire's here. Says, glad to be here from Ohio. Good to see you, Zach. I'm assuming it's Zach. It's Marshire Farm anyway. So thanks for joining. Appreciate that. Eduardo says, watching from the Philippines. All the way from the Philippines. Thanks for joining all the way from there, too. Totally Gomer says, even though you deleted it, made a great story. That might be better than the video. Thanks for that. Probably was better than the video, although you got to see me look pretty discouraged. Like I said, we don't have a lot of turkey here, so I just started hunting them about 6 years ago. We didn't have them at all when I was a kid, but our conservation department has done a great job of bringing them back. And I see them every once in a while when I deer hunt. But the past couple of turkey seasons, actually this last season, we called one in. I didn't wait for him to get quite close enough to me before I shot at him. And we heard a couple more in the woods, like I said, the next weekend. And that's more than we've ever heard out there. My cousin shot one about 3 years ago. Nice, big, 25-pound bird. Great big bird. That was the best hunt I've ever been on in my life. It was so much fun. But I failed this year. So I don't know if I get another try next year or if it's going to be his turn this time, because really I'm the one that messed up. But all right, Danielle says, I got 3 baby silver fox, 2 are white, haven't opened their eyes yet. So I got 3 baby silver fox, 2 are white, haven't opened their eyes yet. Well, congratulations on the new babies. Hopefully they're doing just fine. All right, Madison says, hello, Chris. My rabbit is going to have babies on the 23rd of June. I'm very excited to see how many. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I'm very excited to see, I think. Maybe. Anyway, how are your bunnies doing? Any new litters this year? Sorry, it took me a second. The emoji icon there threw me off. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to be trying to interpret that into it or not. But anyway, I'm old, so I make those mistakes all the time. Rabbits are doing fine. It's getting hot out, so they don't do much. They just kind of lay around. I'm not breeding right now. It's just too hot for me to breed the rabbits. They're kind of they struggle in the heat of summer anyway, and summer is definitely hit. We were up to a little over 90 today. It's humid out. It's just kind of miserable for them. So I'm just leaving them be, letting them not have any babies. The last ones I had were. They were this year, I think. I think they were born in January, and I processed them about a month ago. Another drink. All right. Leadership Help Desk says, hatched my first 4 quail yesterday, moved them into the brooder. Even though I put rocks in the water bottle thing, all 4 ended up soaking wet, yet they were playing this morning. Well, good. I'm glad they made it. A lot of times they get in there and they get wet. People will say they'll get in there and drown, but really what they do is they get in there and they get wet. And when they get soaking wet, it's incredibly hard for them to stay warm. They can chill and they can die from that pretty easily. So yeah, you want to put marbles, rocks, something like that in there to keep them from getting in there where they, and let's see, here, let me hang on just 1 second. I think I have these on my Amazon shop. These are the bases that I use now. It's called a Quail base, and this little narrow channel right here, this screws onto like a mason jar. It's just too small for them to get in and get themselves wet. So this is what I use. No rocks, no marbles required. So works great. I would highly suggest that. But good job. Good thing they made it, because that doesn't always happen. All right. Nicole says, thank you for your videos. We just started raising quail a couple of months ago, and your videos were extremely helpful. You just hatched our first babies almost 3 weeks ago. Loving the experience. Well, awesome. Thank you for watching the videos. I appreciate that. I'm glad to hear that they are helping you out. Congratulations on your babies, by the way, or your new quail, I should say. But James says, how do you keep the flies down around the quail cage? I don't worry about it really too much. I get pretty lucky with the quail. I usually have black soldier fly that move in under the quail hutch and lay their eggs underneath there, and then all the manure underneath there gets infested with black soldier fly larvae, which really keeps the fly population down significantly. I mean, I think they probably eat the fly eggs or the fly larvae or something. I mean, they're composting machines. So they do 2 things for me. One is they keep my manure pile under control. I don't have to worry about cleaning it out during the summer because they just compost it all down right there, everything. And they do it quick, very fast. The other thing is they keep the fly population down. So I don't have too big of a problem with the flies around the quail hutch. We did have a little bit of a problem with flies early because the black soldier flies haven't come in. I ended up investing in a couple of fly traps, the kind that, it's basically a bag with a plastic hanger thing. You fill it with water and you hang it up and it draws fly. And it's doing a pretty decent job of keeping the flies in check. But if you have a real big problem with them, I'd look into fly predators. I've seen those advertised before. I haven't tested them out personally, but I've heard lots of good things about them. They come in basically, you have to look it up to get all the details because I don't know everything about them, but they're an insect that targets fly eggs specifically. And, you buy them in little packets basically, and you just let them go out there or I think they're the eggs. I don't know. Anyway, you let them go out there by wherever you have the fly problem, by your quail hutch or whatever. And they're supposed to do a really good job of keeping flies in check. All right. Coturnic's Corner is here too. Look at that. Got Coturnic's Corner and My Shire in here. Good to see you guys. Thanks for joining. Now you're making me feel bad because I hardly ever join your live broadcasts, but I'll do my best. Not that I don't mean to. I always kind of intend to, and a lot of times I watch them after you've posted them. I just never seem to make it to the live broadcast when it's live. All right, Marie says, no plucker, did it all by hand. Yeah, we did that a couple of months ago, so it wasn't 92 degrees, though. I feel for you. Joey says, do you have any quail Alfredo pasta dish recipes? I don't. Just make it like chicken Alfredo, I guess. I don't really like Alfredo, so you probably won't see a quail Alfredo recipe coming from me, but it's just basically Alfredo sauce is just basically like Parmesan and heavy cream, I think. And, but yeah, I don't really care for it too much, so I'm not going to do that. And then somebody I don't know, is that a Asian language? I don't know. I don't speak it, whatever it is, or I don't know if it's just symbols or if it's actually a different language. So I'm sorry. Is it Kajal? I'm sorry. I don't know what you're trying to say to me. If you can get it translated into English, even if it's in Spanish, I might be able to make it out. I don't speak Spanish well, but a little bit, but I don't know that language. I can't read it. I'm sorry. All right. GC Rocky Mountains. That's what it is. GC Rocky Mountains. Sorry. Says, hello, Chris from Alberta, Canada. Thanks for the videos. I struck out on my turkey tag this spring too, and I waited 12 years for the tag. Good thing I'm raising my own, LL. Thanks for the videos. You had to wait 12 years to get a turkey tag. Oh my goodness. Well, like I said, we didn't have turkey here when I was a kid. So, there's wasn't such thing as turkey hunting around here. And they're way more popular the further north in the state you go. I'm in the very southwest corner. So it's just now that their population's starting to get up a little bit here. But we don't have to, we don't have a lottery for it or anything. You buy tags, and I think it's 2 turkeys. We never do 2 turkeys. My cousin and I usually just do, well, I say usually, we've only ever gotten 1. We've only had the opportunity to get 1, but that's pretty much our plan on the property that we hunt. It's my uncle's property, his dad. And, we only take 1 turkey off that property per year if we get one. So far, it's been 1 every 3 or 4 years. We do the same thing with deer. We only take 1 deer each off that property, so we don't deplete the population too much. But my point to all that, I know I've started rambling there, is that Missouri has an elk season now. They've reintroduced elk. Not here. It's more eastern Missouri, but it's a lottery, and I think there was only 5 tickets they gave out this year. 4 or 5, I can't remember. So only 4 or 5 people get to go hunt elk, and it's not a guarantee that you're going to get one either. They're also going to be opening up a bear season. We've got a big enough population of bear now that black bear, they see them pretty regularly right around here. So they're opening up a season for that, I think, next year. All right, Madison says, do you have any suggestions on how to keep the litters of bunnies cool in the summer? The key really is ventilation. It depends on where you live, really, because if you live in a very arid climate, you can use swamp coolers or misting systems, those kinds of things. Don't mist the rabbits themselves, but like the hutch, the outside of the hutch, and that evaporation will keep it a lot cooler inside there. But, that doesn't work for me because I live in southwest Missouri where we have, 75% humidity, 80% humidity. So if you spray water on things, it just drips off. It doesn't evaporate, so it doesn't cool anything down. Fans are a good idea. And again, don't blow it directly on the rabbit. blow it over the top of the cage so you just get air circulation, air moving. Also keep them in the shade. And I always suggest look at that, a $5 super chat. I got to jump in here and answer that. That was Law of the Minimum. Says, can I keep only males in a cage and how many? That's a good question. You can keep males in a cage by themselves. First of all, thank you for the super chat. I appreciate that. You can keep only male quail in a cage if you want to. Now, as far as how many goes, it depends on how big your quail cage is. I wouldn't go over, the recommended spacing on a wire bottom cage is 1 quail per square foot. I don't know if I'd go quite that high with all males. I personally have never really had that many problems when I've had a lot of males together with them fighting on each other, but it can happen. So you're going to have to watch them pretty close at that point as well. One thing I might suggest if you want to keep all the males in one cage is if you can control the amount of light that they get and keep it under 10 hours a day, that's going to make them much less aggressive because they're not going to be in breeding mode. When it gets up to 14 to 16 hours a day of light, like it is right now outside, because the sun's up for that long, then they get those hormones going through them. Their breeding mode, breeding season, I guess you would call it, when they start crowing and things like that, and they're going to be a little bit more aggressive at that time. But again, I've never really had too many problems with males picking on each other, but I haven't kept them together for long periods of time. So my suggestion would be, I forgot where I was going with that. Yeah, my suggestion would be to try to, give them at least 1 square foot per bird, maybe a little bit more, maybe 1.5 square foot per bird is probably about the density I would go with. And again, if you can have a way to control the amount of light that they get, darken them down a little bit before, either don't, put a cover over the cage that blocks the light and do that, maybe leave it on at night, put it on at night, leave it on until, a couple hours after the sun has come up, and then take it off, or put it on early in the evening. Again, you're gonna have to worry about ventilation there and getting airflow and all those kinds of things. But if you can reduce the amount of light that they get to under about 10 hours a day, you're gonna have better luck with keeping them a little bit less aggressive. All right, where are we at here? Terry says, what's a cheap food to feed quails? Oh boy. Oh, wait. I forgot. I was in the middle of something, wasn't I? Keeping bunnies cool in the summer. Sorry, Madison. Somebody threw money at me. I had to go respond. Keeping litters of bunnies cool in the summertime. Yeah, okay. A couple of things. I use wire nest boxes. That's going to help a lot with ventilation. I do put cardboard in the bottom of them. In the wintertime, I run the cardboard up the sides too. In the summertime, I don't. I leave the sides open. I do still stuff them with straw so they can get down in there and snuggle down if they need to, but that does allow for a lot more ventilation. Do not use a closed top rabbit nest box. You'll see them for sale. You'll see people using them. Stay away from those, especially in the summertime. It's going to trap heat. It's going to trap moisture, which is a perfect breeding ground for mold and mildew and all those kinds of things. You don't want to do that. So fans blowing over the top of the cages. Keep the hutch. There's where I was going with it, Nick. Sorry. Keep the hutch in a shaded spot. Try not to have the hutch where it's in direct sunlight. So what I mean by that is, maybe you have a roof on your hutch that provides shades to the rabbit below. If you can provide shade over that hutch, it's going to be even better. So like mine's on the north side of my house, and the sun's on the south side. So it's always in the shade of the house. The sun's never hitting the hutch directly. And that can make a big difference. Put it under a tree, under, something like that, to where, it's shaded. The hutch is shaded itself. It'll make a big difference with how much heat goes on in there. Hopefully that helps. That's a couple suggestions I have. I think that's it. That's all I got right offhand. Hopefully it helps. Owen says, how are you doing? I'm doing well, Owen. Thank you. Hopefully you are too. Terry says, what's a cheap food to feed quails? I feed a game bird starter to all my birds. You can get away with feeding a lower protein feed like a game bird grower. I don't know what the feed costs are in your area, so I don't know, to tell you like a specific brand that's cheap. I find my best deal at a local feed mill. They mill their own feed, and I get it it's gone up a little bit. So I think it's $14 for a 50-pound bag, which is pretty good compared to prices I've seen at other places. So if you have a local feed store that, you might check with them and see what they can get you, you're going to get a better deal than if you're going to like a big box store, like a Tractor Supply or an Atwoods or something like that, and see what they can get you. As far as like feeding quail something besides like a game bird food that's produced by a mill or whatever, I'm not going to be your best source for that. They require, in the wild, they're omnivores really. So their diet is made up primarily of, different grains and seeds and those kinds of things, as well as insects, lots of bugs and those kinds of things. So they really need a good mix of all that in their diet. So I don't, study up on that before you try to switch off of, if you want to try to grow things for them or whatever, you need to really make sure you get that balance right to make sure they get what they need nutritionally. I know that's not necessarily the answer you were looking for. Afraid that's probably the best I can do on that, though. I hope it helps. All right, Katrina says, trying to find the right words to explain humidity to someone who hasn't experienced it before. How would you explain Midwest, midsummer humidity to someone that has not experienced it? Boy, that's a good question. Let's see. It's like a sauna. If they've ever been in a sauna, or if they're in a bathroom where you've run the shower really, really hot and it all steams up, that's what humidity is. That's what it's like. Now imagine that with 90-degree temperatures outside, and it's like you said, it's hard to explain to other people. I went to Arizona, oh good grief, years and years and years ago, and it was 112 out. And I remember I was walking to I walked to the gas station to get a soda because I'm a soda pop junkie. And I was walking back and thinking it really wasn't that bad out. And I looked up and I saw the temperature it was like a bank sign or something, said 112. I was like, 112? I'm not even sweating. It's not that hot, And then we get people from Arizona that see, oh, you guys are 90 degrees. And then they come down here to visit and they're like, oh my gosh, I can't handle it, And it's even worse. Terry there's in Florida. So, Terry from Katernik's Corner, he's in Florida. If you've ever been to Florida, especially Miami, that area, as soon as you get off the plane, it's just like you can't hardly breathe. The air's so thick. There's so much humidity there. But yeah, it's hard to explain if you haven't experienced it yourself. Okay, KJL, there we go. I see. Let's see if we can get this figured out. Says, hello, I don't know if the language will be delivered properly using Google Translate. That's okay. We'll do our best to figure it out. Hopefully I'm not talking too fast for you to understand. And saying, KJL says, are you talking about foxes in Korea? There is also a fox with 9 tails. I don't think that's probably what you were trying to say. I'm not sure what you were trying to say exactly. Foxes in Korea, and there's a fox with 9 tails. I've heard of a fox of 9 tails, but I think that's like a whip. That's probably not what you're talking about. I'm sorry, I don't know. Try again. Try to do it again, and we'll see if we get it right the next time. All right, Chris says, how many days does it take to, how many days, there we go, that makes more sense. How many days does it take to a quail egg to hatch, for a quail egg to hatch? Usually, it depends on your temperature really in your incubator. Most of the time, if you've got your temperature right and everything's going right, they're going to start hatching out on day 17 to 18, somewhere right around in there. If your temperature is running a little hot, they may start incubating, or they may start hatching a little bit early, which is day 15 or 16. If your temperature is running a little bit low, they may hatch out a little bit late, which is more like day 19 or 20. But it's not uncommon for them to go to day 24 or 25 sometimes, even if you've got all the things correct. Now, those birds that hatch late, you're going to have a higher percentage of birds that have leg issues, especially. Those seem to be the most common thing with those birds that hatch late. And when you're hatching early, you're going to probably have poorer hatch rates because the temperature is just running a little too high. So hopefully that answers it. You should expect about day 17, day 18. All right. My backyard shenanigans says I'm back. Computer messed up. Yeah, well, that's okay. We don't keep track of attendance here. So, if you need to dodge out, you can. We're not going to call you out for it. Not intentionally anyway. But welcome back. Thanks for coming back. All right, Brody, good afternoon. It's evening here. Good evening to you, though. Well, good afternoon to you. I guess it's afternoon where you're at. All right, the truth says, what age can quail eat some watermelon? I don't know that there's a certain age that they can or they can't. Let's see. I don't know. Is watermelon? I'm assuming watermelon. Let me look that up real quick. Let's make sure. Yeah, it should be fine. Watermelon should be fine for them. I was a little concerned. Citrus. You want to stay away from citrus, but watermelon should be fine. I don't see any reason why they couldn't eat it as babies. I don't think there's any certain age they can eat it and certain age they can't eat it. So yeah, feed it to them if you want to. But again, watermelon should be a treat, though. It is very high in sugar. It's a fruit. It's not something that they're going to eat on a normal basis. You don't want to feed them tons of it. And it like a small amounts only really would be best. Would be my advice. KJL says, I'm sorry, I'm 9 years old. That's okay. You don't need to apologize. You're trying. And I'm trying to help you out. If we can figure out what you're asking, I'll do my best to answer it, but it's perfectly all right. My Backyard Shenanigans says, question, when would you start feeding your hens layer feed? My birds are 7 weeks old today. Well, I don't feed layer feed. I feed my birds, all of them, get game bird starter from the time they hatch till the time they get processed or whatever. I feed them a 30% game bird starter. It's 1.5 to 2% calcium. It works for all my birds. Now, if you want to start feeding your birds on a layer feed, several people do that. There's no reason you can't do that, and you can switch them over to that. 6 to 7 weeks old, somewhere right around in there is a good time to go ahead and do that if you want to. All right, Robert says, I have a doe 7 months old. One of my bucks had 2 fall-offs, but she never delivered. I have now put her with 2 different bucks, and she won't lift. Going to try next week a 4th time. Call. Oh, okay, let me read this again. Let's talk. I have a doe that's 7 months old. Okay, 7 months is, right about the time that they should be receptive, but, who knows? Maybe the issues before where she just wasn't receptive yet. She wasn't quite old enough yet. Should be, but, some develop later than others. Says one of my bucks had 2 fall-offs, but she never delivered. So I'm assuming 2 fall-offs in one breeding session. So that, like I said, maybe it could have been her age. Who knows? Says you've now put her with 2 different bucks, but she won't lift. Going to try next week for a 4th one call. I don't think it's time to call yet. No. It's really common for does to be a little bit stubborn, especially the first time or two that they're bred. I've got a video on that, what to do if your doe won't breed, that you can watch. There's several tricks that you can do to try to get her to lift. My biggest suggestion is just keep trying. Put her in with the buck, give her 15 minutes. If she won't lift, take her out, put her back, then come back that evening, try again. Go back the next morning, try again. Go back the next evening, try again. Usually that repetitive, trying time and time and time and time again, 4 or 5 times, something like that, she's going to go ahead and lift for the buck. You can try. There's an old trick that people talk about all the time. I don't know why this would work, but people swear by it. You can try putting her in a pet carrier, putting her in your car and driving around the block a couple of times and then bringing her back, putting her in with the buck. Everybody says that works like a charm. So you might try that as well. But what you're talking about there is really common issues you're going to have with breeding rabbits. They don't always breed like rabbits. Sometimes, and it's usually the doe. The doe's going to be very stubborn. She's going to hunker down in a corner, refuse to lift for the buck. It's common stuff. It's not a reason to call her no. All right, where are we at here? My Backyard Shenanigans says, hello from Kentbridge, Ontario. I thought we already discussed that. I don't mean that like you shouldn't say that again. I want to make sure I hadn't scrolled too far and started the chat all over again. Hello to you again, by the way, and thanks for coming back. Where are we at here? KJL says, have a good time. I can't understand you because you speak so fast. I'm sorry. I know I speak fast. It's very difficult for me to slow down. I try. You can try to turn on. You watch the video after it airs, and in the lower right-hand corner, select the play speed and turn it down to half speed, and that might help. All right, Moonsprout says, hello from Texas. Hello to you. Fanme says, should I wait until fall to rebreed my rabbit or just try to keep the hutch cooler so they can make it through the heat? Well, it seems like I'm not sure. I'm sorry, I'm lost here. Should I wait until fall to rebreed or try to keep the hutch cooler so that they can make it through the heat? It seems like the same thing to me. Yeah, I personally wait until fall and do both. Wait until fall and try to keep the hutch cool so they can make it through the heat. There's not really a whole lot you need to do. I just don't like to get them worked up and get them, moving around a lot in this heat. I don't do any kind of water bottles or any of that. I mean, like frozen water bottles, any of that for my rabbits. I do put tiles in there, and a ceramic tile, and that does two things for them. It gives them a resting mat to get off the wire. It also gives them something that, ceramic tiles tends to be a little bit on the cool side, so it gives them something to lay on to kind of keep cool on a little bit. But I don't do anything else for them. The Truth says, what age can quail eat some watermelon? I think we got that one addressed already. Yep, we did. Leanne says, hello from Northern Kentucky. Hello to you, Leanne. To Live is to Suffer says, I pay 20 for 50 pounds of Purina laying a game bird feed. There we go. That's a pretty good deal. So that's a pretty good deal. Okay, so that my what I pay, $14 is $14 is a great deal. So that's why I keep doing it. All right. Raman says, hey, Chris, I finally managed to watch the live stream after quite a while. I hope everything is going well with you and your family. It's going very well. Thank you very much. I hope, well, first of all, thank you very much for joining the live stream. I'm glad you got to finally make it. All right. GC Rocky Mountain says, yes, 12 years for a lottery type system for turkey tag. Not many here, but blessed with elk, moose, sheep, bear, deer, antelope, etc. So can't complain. Lots we can just buy tags for. Have a blessed week. Yep. Well, and you could always travel to turkey hunt somewhere else if you wanted to. A lot of times you can get those somewhere else. Oh, okay. There we go. Daniel seems to, I don't know, Daniel, if you speak Korean or if you're figuring this out, says a Kumiho or Gumiho, I guess it is. I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right. Says, literally a nine-tailed fox is a Korean creature that appears in the folk tales and legends of Korea. There we go. Okay. Yeah, just a folklore. It's not a real thing then. Raman says, just a question. I've been wondering how you could possibly go on a vacation and off with the Rabbitry. It's something I really need to know. I mean, no one can handle the Rabbitry other than me. That's a tough one for sure. I'm lucky I have a neighbor that comes over and takes care of things for me. Of course, it's really not much to take care of on my land. I've just got the 2 rabbits, just the breeders, and I've only got 20. Well, it's not even that many. Probably, yeah, it's right around 20 birds, and they're all in the one hutch. So all she has to do is come over, collect eggs, make sure the water bucket's not empty. If it is, fill it up, make sure they got food in their feeder, and that's it. And the same thing for the rabbits, no eggs with the rabbits, of course. But so I don't mind. I mean, she comes over and takes care of that stuff for me, makes sure the dog is fed. That's how I do it. But I'm pretty lucky. I've got a good neighbor that can do those things for me and I trust. I would say try to find somebody that you trust that you can have do that for you. Have them come over and shadow you for a couple of days. Surely it can't be that hard. I mean, somebody would be able to do it for you. If you really need to go on vacation, you're just going to have to trust that somebody can take care of it for you. You may have to pay them. I'm lucky I don't have to pay my neighbor. I take care of stuff for her when she's gone. She takes care of stuff for me when we're gone. So I don't really know of a better way to do that. All right, Reese. Hopefully that helps, Ramen. I hope it does. Reese says, it is me, Reese. I had the problem from the girl quail. I have a girl that laid 3 eggs. One was good, but the other 2 were like with no shell, and they were soft. Okay. I don't remember, Reese, specifically what we were talking about, but I will say this about soft eggshells. You're going to get those from time to time. If it's not a continuing issue, give her some time. Especially when birds first start laying, you get a lot of weird eggs. Sometimes you get some little bitty tiny ones, great big double yolk eggs with no shell on them. I mean, all kinds of weird things. That can be an indicator of low calcium, but it's not always an indicator of low calcium. A lot of times it's just when the birds first start laying or first start laying in the season, they start laying those kinds of eggs. And then it takes them a couple of weeks kind of get in the cycle of things, and they should start laying just normal eggs at that point. Now, if it does continue on and it's a continuing issue, then I would look at the amount of calcium that's in your feed. Quail need 1.5 to 2% calcium in their diet. Much more than that can actually be bad for your hatch rates because it makes the shells too thick. And much less than that, they can have bone issues and, soft eggs and all those kinds of things. So, if it does continue on, it's a continuing thing that goes on for more than about 2 weeks, then definitely look at the amount of calcium you have in your feed. You may need to supplement that. And what I would do is add that in a separate container. Don't just mix it in with their feed. They'll self-regulate and eat as much as they need of it. Hopefully that helps. All right, Big City Quail says, Quail can eat watermelon at any age. Yep, I agree. The Truth says, many thanks. Yeah, just a treat. I think we're talking about the watermelon. Hershey says, do you know anything about chuckers? Not really. No, I've never raised them. Don't really know a whole lot about them. Big City Quail says, statement, could Quail eat regular pellets from day one? However, I soften with water mixed with Rooster Booster for the first few days. I don't feed pellets. I feed a crumble feed. So pellets may be a little bit on the big side, but as far as game bird starter crumble goes, day one, eat it. I don't grind it up. I don't soften it. It just comes right out of the bag and they eat it just fine. No problems whatsoever. All right. My backyard shenanigans says, okay, so you don't have to feed them a layer feed. Was told they needed like 2.5% calcium for good egg quality and production. I feed game bird starter as well. It's 30% protein and 1.2% calcium. 1.2 may be a little bit on the low side. Really, 1.5 is about right. So you may be okay. But yeah, watch their eggs. If they start getting real thin shells or, shellless eggs or things like, you find a lot of broken eggs or whatever, again, add some calcium on the side or switch up to a feed with a little bit higher calcium level in it. But I personally like the higher protein better than I do. And 2.5% calcium is really more than they need, but it's within the limit. So if you want to switch over to a 2.5 calcium, it's okay. They'll do fine on that. You just don't necessarily need to. All right. Tyler says, what's the best way that you have found to decapitate a rabbit? Well, I don't know if it's the best way, but this is the way I do it. Let me grab a drink. I use a broomstick. It's a dislocation, dislocates their neck. I can't ever say that correctly, so I try to avoid saying the words. Anyway, we won't say that. So basically, I just, I set them on the ground. I put the broomstick over the back of their neck. I put one foot on each side of the broomstick, grab their legs and pull, and it basically breaks their neck, dislocates their neck. And then once that's done, I let them quit kicking a little bit because they pretty much, it's almost an instant dispatching. And I wait for them to kind of quit kicking, the nerves to slow down a little bit, and then just a knife across the throat, bleed them out a little bit. If the bone is still, a lot of times the neck bone will break whenever that happens, and you can just cut it off with a knife. If you can't go all the way through because the bone's still intact, I use a pair of pruners like you would prune tree limbs with, handheld pruners, and cut through the bone there, and that's it. The head comes right off that way. That's the way I do it. I don't know if that's the best way, but that's the way I found that works for me. All right. Ricardo says, hello from Jamaica. I'm new to the rabbit business, and I've learned all I know from your videos. Keep up the good work. Well, thank you very much, Ricardo. And in Jamaica, that's another place I'd like to go someday. Thanks for joining the live broadcast. All right, Big City Quail says, to my backyard shenanigans, just add calcium supplements to feed when the hen reaches laying stage of life. Yep, you can do that for sure. Beardsley Madness says, my female bunnies were pregnant for 1 month and a half, maybe. 1 month and a half. Okay, so a month and a half they were pregnant, maybe. Didn't know. Saw that the plugged fur to make the nest. Oh, they pulled fur to make a nest. Delivered 2 to 3 dead embryos, and day and a half later, she delivered 1 dead. From Wisconsin, I'm guessing. There could be a number of reasons for that. My guess is that she was probably a little too young when she got bred. That may be the issue. You say a month and a half, it's probably, she probably just got bred at some other point. You just didn't realize she was getting bred. If you have your cages like sharing a wall, like there's the cages butt right up next to each other, you've got a male in one cage and a doe in the other, it's possible for them to breed through the wire. It doesn't happen all the time, but it is possible for that to happen. So that could have been what happened as well. But again, my guess is that she was probably too young when she got bred, and that's what caused all the issues. You can try to breed her again when you're ready. Monitor it this time so you can keep track of when it's going to happen, of course. And, if the same thing happens again, then I wouldn't breed her again after that. I would consider that bad genes, get a new rabbit. But other than that, I would just chalk it up to first time. Probably bred too young would be my guess. All right. Jamie says, my boys raised Coturnix quail. I've tried bobwhite because I had a customer request 100 this fall. I now have 20 chicks, hoping I can hatch enough to get 100 by October, $6 each. Well, nice, good. I hope it works out well for you. Just a word of caution. I don't know, where you live, but here anyway, in order to raise bobwhite, because they are a native bird, you will need permits from the conservation department. And especially in order to sell them, I'm sure you're going to need permits for that. But again, I don't know where you live, and laws may be different there, but I think anywhere in the country native birds are, like bobwhites, California quail, and any of those that are native, I believe require a permit. I may be wrong. Check into it and see, though, just to make sure you don't get yourself in trouble. It's not an expensive permit in most cases. It's pretty easy to get, but you do need that permit. So, all right. Happy Texas Homestead says, good evening. We're reaching 100 plus degrees here in the Texas Panhandle. Do you have any recommendations for keeping the quail cool? They are outside in vented cages. Let's see, Texas Panhandle. That is, I used to live in Texas, but I lived in deep East Texas. I believe the Panhandle is West Texas, far West Texas, and I believe that is a pretty arid area, kind of deserty, I think. So you could probably get away with swamp coolers and misters and evaporative cooling. Those kinds of things will help quite a bit. Basically, the same thing I ran through with rabbits just a little bit ago is, if you live in an arid climate, a very dry climate, then evaporative cooling is a good way to keep them cool. Now, don't spray the birds directly. Don't spray water on them directly. Spray it on the hutch itself, and as it evaporates, it will help drive the temperature down inside the hutch. Fans to circulate. Again, you don't want to blow in directly on the birds necessarily, but you want it blowing above, across the cage to where it circulates air, keeps ventilation going. Make sure they're in the shade. Again, the same suggestion I have for the rabbits is try to put the hutch in the shade. Don't just rely on the roof of the hutch to provide shade to the birds. It'll be a lot cooler if the hutch itself is in the shade and you have the extra shade of the roof of the hutch, if that makes sense. So put it under a tree, north side of your house, whatever. So, the direct sun's not hitting the hutch directly. What else? That's about it. Quail are pretty tolerant. They struggle in the heat more than they do in the cold, just like most animals do, but they're pretty heat tolerant. They can handle it pretty well. Make sure they don't run out of water. Make sure they always have access to fresh, cool water. That's about it, honestly. All right. Reese says, thanks. You are welcome, Reese. Katrina, our rabbits have a large vertical tube with feed that falls to the bottom. Free choice. Just have to fill it up now and know how long it lasts. Can you put more hay than they would eat in a day into the cage? Yeah, you can. A couple things I would say is watch your rabbits very closely. They will overeat and they will gain weight. And if they get overweight, then you're going to have problems with breeding and all kinds of issues. It's best to probably limit your rabbits to just as much as they'll eat within 24 hours. Keep them on a little bit more of a diet. But, if what you're doing is working, don't change it just because I said that. Go ahead and do it. Just watch your rabbits pretty closely. If you start having breeding problems, if they start getting real fat, heavy, any of those kinds of things, you may have to start limiting the amount of food. Now, hay is a different thing. Free choice hay is fine. They're not going to get overly fat on just eating hay. So you can put as much hay in there as you want to, within reason. You don't want to put too much hay in there because there's a good chance if you have too much and it stays in there for days on end that they're going to defecate on it, urinate on it, get it wet, whatever. And when hay gets wet, it starts to spoil, it starts to mold. That can be bad for them. So as long as it's sanitary, as much hay as they can eat is fine. Hopefully that answers the question. All right. Big city quail. I just heard a strange sound coming from over there. I don't know what that was. I'll worry about it later. All right. Katrina says, oh, wait, I already answered that. Big City Quail's talking to Texas Homestead fans. Says, Texas Homestead. He says, fans to keep your birds cool or keep birds indoors. I live in an apartment in Phoenix, so I keep my bird cages inside. Yeah, I can imagine that would be tough. It's hot for sure. Raman says, yeah, I've been thinking of finding someone or even paying them. The point is the trust. It's like 12 rabbits and I really need some time off work anyways. Thanks. I completely understand that, Raman, but at some point you just got to trust that somebody else is going to be able to take care of it for you. It really isn't that difficult. They should be able to do it. Even if you found just a high school kid or whatever, and if you're paying them, chances are they're going to do a good job at taking care of them. They're going to make sure, give them a list, give them something written, a checklist that they need to go through every day when they come to take care of them. Very explicit instructions and directions. You might do a test run with them, give them a couple of days to, they're going to do it on their own without you nearby. And then you can follow up and make sure they're taking care of everything. It's the only things I know to do, really. Big City Quail says, keep constant airflow. Yeah, airflow is always a key to helping keep things cool. Ed got baits here. Good to see you, Ed. Says, well, I guess better late than never. Absolutely. And again, we don't take attendance, so you don't have to worry. We didn't mark you as late. My backyard shenanigans. Do you sell jumbo hatching eggs? I do not, but you know who does? My Shire Farm, who is in the live, was here. I don't know if he's still here or not. But yeah, I'm not set up to sell shipping eggs or ship eggs, anything like that. I'm not NPIP certified. So I always recommend My Shire Farm. Kansas City Quail Farm is another good supplier. There's a couple of them out there, but you're not going to go wrong with any of those. Mateo says, my quail are hatching on Saturday. Do you have any tips? Love your videos. Keep up the good work. Well, first of all, don't count that they're hatching on Saturday. They're due to hatch on Saturday. You know the old saying, don't count your chickens before they hatch. But just kidding. As far as tips go, try not to panic. Try not to freak out. Just leave them alone. Let them go. Let them hatch. My birds are hatching right now. Don't open the incubator up. Give them time, at least 24 hours. Make sure they're all dry and fluffy before you open it up and take them out. They can go up to 36. Really, I like to kind of go, well, they can go up to 48. Yeah, they can go up to 72 hours, actually, in the incubator after they hatch. Sorry, I had to get my math right. I like to make sure they don't go any further than 36. I have had a few times where I've had a couple of them just not quite make it whenever I waited too long. So I like to go 24 to 36 hours after they're, 1 day to 2, 24 to 40, 24 to 36, not quite 2 full days before I take out the ones that have hatched first. Again, make sure they're dry, make sure they're fluffy, be as quick as you can about it. And if you need to add some water to the incubator at that point, that's the time to do it. To bump the humidity up a little bit more, because when you open that up, you're going to have a rush of drier air moving into the incubator. Make sure it's warm water. Don't put cold water in your incubator when it's hot. Make sure it's warm water. Other than that, I don't know what else to give you tips on. Good luck with them. I hope they all do well. Chris says, what happens if the power outage goes on for 5 hours and the incubator has quail eggs in it? Will the eggs still hatch? More than likely, yes. It's probably not much to worry about. Just, you could probably, you could wrap it up with blankets to try to keep it warm and all those kinds of things. It's probably not necessary. 4 to 5 hours, something like that, is not that big of a gap. It's probably going to be fine. I wouldn't worry about it. All right. Isaiah says, hi. Hello to you. Big City Quail says, okay, Mateo, keep out of the incubator until either all are hatched or until they dry and fluff up. That's good advice. Ed Got Bait says, how early can I pull the quail out of the brooder? High 80 to 90 degrees daytime temps and a high 60 to 70 at night. Probably at about 2.5 weeks old. Once they're fully feathered out, they should be fine. What I would start doing is start weaning them off the heat lamp. Take it down to where it's, give them, hang on, let me back up. It needs to be like 95 to 100 degrees whenever they first come out of the incubator. And that, usually for about the first 4 or 5 days, something like that. Then you could start lowering it down by about 5 degrees every couple of days. Watch your birds pretty closely at that point. If they're all crowded up underneath the heat lamp, it's a little too chilly for them. You probably need to move it a little, warm it up just a little bit for them. If they're all spread out all over the place, just meandering around, they're fine. Go ahead and, lower the temperature just a couple more degrees, 5 degrees if you want to. Chances are when you do that, they'll kind of start to gather together under the heat lamp, but they'll start spreading out pretty quick. A couple of hours or whatever, they'll start spreading out next day for sure. And as long as they continue to do that, they're doing fine on the heat level that you've got them at. But by the time they're about 2 weeks old, whenever they start fully feathering out, you should be able to wean them completely off the heat, move them outside if you want to at that point. I usually go 2.5 to 3 weeks, somewhere right around in there. All right, Mateo says, okay, Tane, thank you. You're welcome. Big City Quail says to Chris Dominguez, 1 to 3 should have no issue with, even if Nature Mama will leave them uncovered to feed. Was that about how long you can go with or if you can go 5 hours without power? Yep, I agree with that too. How are we doing on time? We got 5 minutes left. Let's see how much I can get through in 5 minutes after I take a drink. All right, Jack says, my My quail hens are a year old and laid eggs last year until winter. They started up again with the spring hit, but they suddenly stopped about a month ago and haven't restarted. Are they done laying? Probably not. I had the same problem with mine. We had a little bit of a weird weather pattern here that came on, and that's probably the same thing that you've run into. Maybe I'll explain it, and you can kind of tell me if that same thing. You know, spring, early spring, it seemed like, I mean, it came in pretty nice. It was, you know, sunny, and the birds started laying again. They started laying like crazy. And then we got this stretch of weather where it was like 2 weeks, 3 weeks of just cloudy, overcast days, raining just about every day, a little bit cooler temperatures that you know, they were getting down pretty low in the 40s, you know, at night. And the quail kind of quit laying. They didn't completely quit, but they really slowed down, where I went from like getting 7, 8 eggs a day to getting 1, maybe 2. And then we, you know, that just broke last week. We started getting a couple of sunny days and they're back laying again. So that's probably the issue you ran into. Give them a little bit of time. They'll probably pick back up. My guess is that you're probably having similar issues. They're probably not done laying yet. My eggs, you said they're a year old. My birds are a little over 2 years old and they're still laying. In fact, the eggs that are in the incubator are from them and they're still hatching. So, you know, they're doing fine. You're probably not done with them at this point. They'll pick back up. If you really want to make sure they pick back up, put an external light on them and, you know, kick it on early in the morning. Give them a little bit more light. That'll get them laying again pretty quick. All right. What is that? Guyarchitect? I can't pronounce that. Guyarchitect Creations, I guess. I don't know if I'm reading that right. Hey, Chris, how are you? And can I get my male quail to stop crowing so much? How can I get them to stop crowing so much? Well, I mean, aside from probably not anything you want to do, you know, if you want to, like I said, put, you know, cover on there to shorten the daylight hours that the bird's getting down to below 10, that's going to make him move out of breeding mode. So he's not going to crow. But he's also not going to fertilize the hens for you. And if you've got hens in the same cage, they're going to quit laying eggs. So that's probably not something you want to do. Biggest thing, just wait. Usually when they first hit maturity, they start crowing like crazy. I mean, they're like teenagers. They just crow like crazy all the time. And usually after about a month of that, they really calm down quite a bit. And it's not nearly as bad. I don't hardly ever hear mine crowing now. But they're still breeding. I mean, I'm still getting fertile eggs. It's still happening. They do crow occasionally, but it's really when they first come into the breeding season in the spring and when they first come of age, those 2 times is when they're really vocal and do so more than any other time. All right. Where are we at here? Robin says, and Chris, my breeding in May resulted in 6 kits, all bucks. Wonder if it has anything to do with the moon phase or just something rarely happening. Should check to see if it was a full moon or not. Yeah, I did a video on that a while back about the moon phase and breeding. I haven't really tested it out, and I don't remember the specifics of that. But yeah, it'd be interesting to know if it was a full moon or a, you know, waxing moon or a waning moon or whatever. You know, find out all that stuff and let us know. That's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's kind of, I mean, I don't know if it matters to you if they're all bucks or not, because I don't know if you're planning on keeping some of them for breeding. But, you know, me personally, I don't usually keep my rabbits for breeding. They're just for meat production. So it doesn't matter to me if they're all bucks or all does. Half the time I don't even check. All right. Where are we at here? Tyler says, have you ever had a raccoon attack your quail from below? No, I had a fox do that one time. And I've had raccoons come up to the hutches, but they've never found a way to get in. They've never actually got a hold of the birds or anything like that. But I did have a fox that was coming up one time. And I got him on a game cam, grabbing the birds from the bottom through the wire, grabbing their feet and pulling their legs off through the bottom wire. I put some electric wire, fence wire around the bottom of the hutches, and he stopped. I don't even have it hooked up anymore, but he hasn't been back to bother him. All right. Katrina says, I was trying to give ideas for the rabbit person who wants a few days off. What were we talking? Did I miss something, Katrina? I'm not sure if I missed your comment, if I responded to it. Maybe I got lost. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm lost what we're talking about. Big City Quail says, Southwest Game Bird is a good supplier. I have 80 celadons that just went into lockdown today. There you go. There's another good supplier. All right. Lee says, my quail are real sporadic on laying. They always have access to food and water, laying once or twice a week. what could be going on with them? It's probably a light. Light's the biggest. Two things that really affect quail laying. The amount of light is the first thing. They have to have about 14 hours a day average light in order to lay eggs consistently. So if they don't have 14 hours a day, if you've got them in a place that's really dark, maybe their hutch doesn't light up, or if you've got them inside your lights are not on for that long a day, that can affect their egg laying quite a bit. The other factor is stress. And stress is usually from a move or, some kind of like a drastic weather change, huge, 40-degree drop in temperature, overnight, and then it stays that way for a week on end, something like that. Sometimes predator pressure, but even that's not really that common. Those are the things that can really affect your quail laying. My guess is going to be light. Light's probably the biggest thing. They're probably not getting a full 14 hours a day of light for whatever reason. That's probably why they're sporadically laying. All right. Either that or they're just, just reaching age. I don't think you told me how old they are. Well, you say once or twice a week, so it's been a couple of weeks. When they first start to lay, when they first hit laying age, they can be a little bit sporadic from time to time. So it may take them a little while to get used to, to just start laying on a regular basis. It may not be anything you're doing, but Chris says, thanks for responding. I was worried. No problem. Glad to help. How are we doing on time? Ooh, we're past time. I got to shut this one down, guys. Mateo, I'll answer this question real quick for you because I can't stop reading the chats, but this will be it. This is the last one. I got to shut this one down for tonight. If I didn't get to your comment, I am sorry about this, but Mateo says, once they hatch, I understand the ideal temperature is 95. How much could I go over or under in this degrees? Don't stress about that too much. Watch your birds for the most part. And really the ideal temperature is more like 99. So 95 is fine. 101 is fine. Watch your birds. You'll know that it's too hot if they're all spread out as far from the heat lamp as they can. And always try to put your heat lamp on one side of the brooder so they have a gradient. Don't put it right in the middle so it's just as hot everywhere. Put it on one side of the brooder so they have a gradient. They can get away from the heat if they need to. And if they're all like way far away from the heat, it's a little bit warm. You need to cool it down just a little bit. If they're all crowded up underneath the heat lamp trying to stay warm, it's a little bit cool. You need to warm it up just a little bit, but don't stress about it too much. 3 or 4 degrees one way or the other is probably going to be fine. It's really just the first day or two when they get out of the incubator that's the most important. You got to keep them warm then, and then after that, they start getting a little bit more tolerant. It's not as big of an issue. Hopefully that puts your mind at ease a little bit for that. But anyway, all right, I got to wrap this one up for the night. Thanks, guys, for joining me tonight. I had a great time. Hopefully we'll be back next Thursday evening. I don't think there's going to be anything. Well, at this point, it doesn't look like anything's going to be in my way, but you never know. Things happen. And we'll see you guys then. Thank you for coming. Thanks for joining tonight. And as always, God bless.